Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Alisé. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the new moon in Leo. This is occurring on August 16th at, it's a 5 something a.m. It's at 5:39 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you can translate that to wherever you are in the world. And as I said, that's August 16th. 5:39 a.m. So whenever we have a new moon, we know that the moon and the sun are in a new phase conjunction. So the sun and moon are aligned in the same degree of the sky, and in this case, it's at almost 24 degrees of Leo. So just so you know, it's 23 degrees 17 minutes, and we have Venus in Leo that's retrograde, and it's making some aspects that we're going to talk about that are interesting in regards to what we're seeding with the new moon, because as we know, new moons are a new beginning. We're seeding and initiating new things in our own consciousness, and then of course therefore that means that will over time unfold and then be reflected back to us. We could look at this as a cycle that's going to fruition at the full moon, the next full moon, but also really we could look at this as being when we experience the full moon in Leo 6 months from now. So whatever it is we're initiating, what is initiating within our own consciousness with the new moon will naturally unfold from here all the way until 6 months from now. So looking at this chart, we want to see, well, how might this unfoldment really be happening based on how the planets are interacting within the sky, which of course is really just a reflection of our own psychological development as well. So how this is happening internally as well, right? So Venus is the ruler or planetary guide to the south node of the moon, and that's in Libra now. We've been, as we know, we had been experiencing Venus as the ruler of the north node when the north node was in Taurus. Now the nodes have just recently moved into Aries and Libra. So now Venus is the ruler of the south node. And I mention this because it is the moon's nodes that we're all really collectively and individually looking at for the next 18 months and really working with as we experience what the moon is doing as well, right? So being that this is a new moon, it's important to look at the nodal axis, right, of the moon. And, its rulers. And so that would mean Venus as the ruler of the south node, but the north node is Mars, or ruled by Mars. So the north node is Aries, ruled by Mars. I always really like to look at Mars and Venus together anyway, because they are really actually working together in our consciousness, where Mars is the part of our consciousness or function of consciousness where we initiate new things, which is an Aries energy. It is how we actually go about what we desire, how it is that we actually get our needs met. So the actions that we take to get our needs met, but also our desires met, to self-actualize our desires as well. And so, Mars being the ruler of the north node, Aries, and then as it interacts with Venus, well, Venus is basically our Taurus energy, Taurus, right? So this is how we actually magnify, how we magnetize things to us, right? Based on our actions, how we've been taking action, and then the reflections we get back, which is our Venusian energy. And so this is how Venus is related to how we magnetize things to us and how we attract things in our lives. It does have to do with attraction. So it has to do with what we're attracted to as well. And so they always work together. And it is going to be important to be looking at what Mars and Venus are doing for the next 18 months because, they're the rulers of the nodes. And this is how we're emotionally evolving. And we're also how we're actually not only evolving but changing, right? So how we're internally changing and externally changing, right? How the outside world is reflecting those internal changes. And whenever we're talking about the moon, we are talking about the internal world and our psychology and also our ego. So it can be very much about our emotional attachments. And so when we're looking at the new moons, full moons, and the nodes for the next 18 months, this can really be how we're looking at our attachments in relationship to our own Mars energy, our masculine energy, and Venus, our feminine energy. And then how our relationships with anything and everything in the outside world is reflecting our emotional attachments, as well as how we're really evolving with our own self-actualization process. And particularly with the new moon in Leo, it is about the self-actualization process. It's how we're creatively self-actualizing what we love and how we love, who we love, all of those things, how we're the embodiment of love, and how we share our love with anyone and everything in the outside world, right? So Venus is making an interesting aspect to Jupiter and Uranus. Now Venus is retrograde, as I said, and so that means that Venus has already made a exact square to that Uranus while it went retrograde. But now it's right in the middle of the square, approaching square to Jupiter and Taurus. So Jupiter and Taurus is at 14 degrees, 59 minutes, and Uranus is at 23 degrees exactly. And Venus is at 18 degrees and 40 minutes. And so it's right at the midpoint of the Jupiter balsamic conjunction to Uranus. So the midpoint square, right? So I find that to be interesting because Uranus is about integration and enlightening aha moments where we suddenly get this. It can be these things that we just suddenly hear, like clairaudient. It can be things that we suddenly have a vision of, clairvoyant. And just where it might not even really make sense to the conscious mind, but it's actually the part of our brain that can really make connections between the past, the present, and the future. And so it can be giving us these insights on our path that is coming, that may even seem far out. It may seem not only far out in the sense of time and distance, but also just really outside what has been consistent of our constructs in up to now. And so it can really be this very, almost even sometimes like otherworldly insights, where to the conscious mind it just seems like, wow, like I would be living in a whole nother world if I was in this state of mind or vision, or even these insights that I'm suddenly getting, and I don't know how it really fits yet, right? And that's what Uranus is, why it's integration, because it is about integrating more and more and more and more of who we are at our core essence, and especially our core essence, because Taurus energy or Taurus consciousness, the sign of Taurus, is about our natural core essence. It's how we're naturally and inherently designed. And so this is important because Venus then, as I said, it's retrograded to square Uranus, but then now it's moving towards Jupiter and gonna square Jupiter. And so this has to do with our beliefs and how we're expanding our beliefs, but also how just knowing things. It's our intuitive nature. It is our right brain thinking in our intuitive nature, as well as really, because it's in Taurus, this is expanding our beliefs about our own natural core essence and who we are naturally designed to be. And are there beliefs or belief systems that we have taken on that are really not in alignment with who we are now and our natural core essence? And so Jupiter's helping that to be expanded so that we can actually really be in alignment with our natural core essence, who we're designed to be. And this is Venus. We're naturally going to attract all the resources that we personally need, all the information that we personally need in order to be our best versions of ourselves. But it is about releasing beliefs that are really not in alignment with our value, in our values. So whatever it is that we desire, it's because we value it. We want to attract it, right? And so in order to attract it, we have to be an energetic match to it, which means that we have to hold beliefs that are in alignment with it. Because if there are beliefs that are not in alignment with what we value and who we really are, and by the way, who we really are is equally connected to what we desire. I mean, we wouldn't even desire it if it wasn't who we are and a part of our journey, right? And so the only thing that would be holding us back from naturally magnetizing that which we desire or being resourced to be the embodiment of what we desire in our natural core essence is if we're holding beliefs that is actually not ours or not resonant with who we're becoming and who we are. So this Venus retrograde square Uranus, and then in the midpoint of the square, then approaching that square to Jupiter, it can give us the opportunities and attract the opportunities so that we can actually see and hear what we need to hear, information maybe, thoughts, perceptions, things that can be reminding us, well, what are you really believing? And what are you valuing? And are you first and foremost valuing your own needs and your own desires, knowing that they are guiding you to your best version of yourself, as well as your natural core essence, and how that naturally then assists your creative self-actualization process, Leo. So, interestingly, Mercury is in Virgo. It's in its pre-shadow because it's going to go retrograde. So, remember, whatever's happening at the pre-shadow, this is gearing us up to actually get the information that we need to consider as Mercury does go retrograde in its retrograde phase, and we begin to relax into the information and understand more and more, right? And so, ooh, let me pull this back up. Mercury is in a balsamic conjunction to Mars, and it's not going to pass over Mars before it goes retrograde. So that's interesting. In I find it interesting because I think that this gets, Mercury's going to get close enough to Mars where I feel like Mercury is going to be giving us this opportunity to really see what information we actually instinctually act upon, because Mars is our instincts. And so this is going to give us good information. And it's great that it's in this balsamic conjunction or completing conjunction with Mars at this new moon, because we can be really looking at what are we instinctually acting upon and what is that telling me about what I'm really believing. And so we can actually get the information we need in order to actually make any pivots or be more discerning around what we're acting upon. Because, we don't want to be acting upon things or acting upon, let's just say we don't want to be acting upon things that are not in alignment with what we desire. And, if we're acting upon things in certain ways, we can be really looking at, well, is that showing me that I really believe that I can attract that which I desire and self-actualize the embodiment of my desires? Or is this showing me that I'm not really believing it? Because ultimately we can see what our instincts are. We can see what we're really unconsciously believing by what our instincts are, right? And so if we are noticing that we're acting in ways that are demonstrating that we're either repeating the past that we do not prefer to carry forward, or that, we're acting in ways that maybe is not valuing our needs or valuing what we desire, valuing our own identity and who we are now. This is great because this is going to help us with that Venus approaching the square to Jupiter, right? Where we can go, ooh, that's good information. Like, I just acted in this way, and really that action just demonstrates that I may be falling back on an idea of the past that I'm not worthy of that desire, or that I can't have that desire, or that I can't do this thing or that thing. Whatever it is, however it is it's showing up for you. But remember that Virgo is the archetype of making adjustments, self-improvement, and also discernment, right? So this is about discernment, not judging ourselves if we've actually not acted on behalf of our needs, or not acted on behalf of our new desires or our creativity in some way, or we didn't do something perfectly or something like that, but just discerning and going, oh, it's part of the learning process. I'm going to discern that, and actually next time I'm actually not going to act on behalf of this or in this way. I'm going to actually change the way in which I'm actually acting upon my desires so that I am an energetic match to them, so that I am the embodiment of it and it can't help but come into my life, right? One of the things I like about Virgo is Virgo, if you know about your Virgo unconsciousness, you know they really like to clean things up. They like to make things better. They like things to be efficient, right? And so this can be where we see where we need to clean things up and the way in which we're acting on behalf of our own needs and our own identity. And I say the identity too because Mars is the ruler of Chiron and Aries. Chiron's in Aries. Mars has just recently made a quincunx to that Chiron and Aries at 19 degrees. And so actually Mercury is then making a quincunx to Chiron and Aries at this new moon. And so we can be getting the information that we personally need, and collectively, of course, where there may be an adjustment that we need to make in cleaning things up and around how we're actually projecting our consciousness, Mars, and maybe even how we're perceiving things, so that we are an energetic match to who it is we desire to become and who we really are. Chiron and Aries is the healing to the identity. But if we're not doing the work, it can be the rewounding of, or the wounding of, our own identity and who we are and what we need, right? I mean, what we need and desire is so much a part of our identity. And yet we do want to understand that we are always the one that is projecting our consciousness, and so therefore we can only get the reflections based on how we're acting on our own behalf and our own needs, our own desires, our own identity, who we are, who we'd like to become, who we envision ourselves to be. So Virgo is that part of us that actually likes to clean things up. It notices the details. So we can be noticing these details, which is actually helpful to us right now, so that we can actually make any adjustments necessary, do the self-improvement that's necessary to really be the energetic match of everything that we desire to become and to embody in the world, in our own lives, what we desire our life to be like, and how we desire to creatively self-actualize that which we love, and really loving ourselves as well. First and foremost, it's natural for us to be cultivating our own self-love. And part of self-love is actually believing in yourself, perceiving things in ways that recognizes that you are supported. The universe supports itself. And so therefore, we're always supported. But we can actually even be supported in believing that we aren't worthy of something, or doubting ourselves, or doubting our circumstances, or whatever it is. The universe will just reflect that back. If we believe that we aren't worthy, then it will reflect that back, right? So, Virgo is this part of our consciousness that can have self-doubt, because it is about process, and it can focus on one little thing that needs to be cleaned up and then kind of doubt the whole process, right? So this could be great to really just pay attention to how you're perceiving information, how you're discerning and acting upon that information, and then also, you know, remembering that we are the ones that make meaning. So we can actually be, I think it's just very helpful to be looking at that everything is always serving us, even when it doesn't look like it. And we might need to make that adjustment to remember that in moments because we don't have the whole picture. You know, Mercury it rules Gemini, it rules Virgo, and Jupiter rules Jupiter rules Sagittarius, and Jupiter also rules Pisces. And so this is our left brain, right brain thinking. And so the right brain thinking is intuitive in it, and the left brain thinking, Mercury, is linear thinking, right? And so left brain doesn't always know the whole picture, but right brain thinking does, the intuitive nature does. And so if we can actually perceive things in a way that is discerning rather than judgmental of the process, and also recognizing it's always serving us, and that as we perceive things are always serving us, even when it doesn't appear to be so, we stay in alignment with the vibration of that which we desire to become, that which we desire to bring and attract and magnetize in our lives. And so keeping this in mind, I think, can be really healing and really helpful in regards to this self-actualization process that this new moon is really offering us. And so remembering that the nodes are in Aries and Libra, so this is about attraction and repulsion. Aries and Libra is about projections. We project our consciousness, Mars, Aries, and then we receive based on those projections, Libra. So this is our power of attracting things to us and repulsing things from us, right? And so this dynamic can really be going on for the next 18 months, where we're really noticing this aspect of Aries and Libra of attraction and repulsion. And, you know, remember that there are things that may be desiring to leave our lives. There can be completions in the way in which we've related to things and people, places, things in the outside world. And this can have some unexpected changes in relationships or circumstances and situations. And it could also mean that we might want to recognize what we're holding on to, because if there are things that we're holding on to that we don't understand why they're leaving our lives, or we can actually take ourselves out of alignment with that, recognizing that everything's happening to our highest benefit, because things that are leaving our lives are leaving because there's something else that is desiring to come in. And that may not even be conscious for us. We may not be conscious of that. And so this is that attraction repulsion. Like, you know, when you've been repulsed by something, you don't really know why. Like maybe something just rubs you the wrong way. You don't know why. Or a person just rubs you the wrong way. You don't know why. And you're just, there's this repulsion, right? And it's this natural part of our consciousness to actually be suddenly attracted to something and we don't know why, or suddenly repulsed by something and we don't know why. And it's because this is the movement of things coming in and out of our lives that is meant to support us. So sometimes support is actually things leaving our lives, and sometimes support is actually things coming in, right? And so remember that all of our relationships are resources. They're meant to support us, and as we are meant to support others as well in their own evolutionary process. And so, relationships and how we relate is always going to be a resource. So, this is going to be, helpful in navigating this attraction repulsion, because there can be things that are just suddenly there, it's suddenly not an energetic match. And especially if we're doing our personal work, because if you're actually working on your own psychological development, on your own desires, your own needs, your own life, how you'd like to self-actualize, then you can have things come up where suddenly something just is not a part of it anymore. And so it is important to allow those things to come and go, just like the in breath and the out breath, allowing things to come in, allowing it to go, allowing it to come in, allowing it to go, because it is about this evolutionary momentum of the embodiment of that which we desire, right? And our natural core essence. And remembering that we need to allow things to change. We need to allow thoughts, perceptions, and beliefs to change as well, where they may have supported us, but now we know more. We know more, right? And so, this can really have us part of this new moon process in the next 6 months can be allowing those beliefs to go so that new ones can come in, because now we know more, right? Allowing relationships to come and go as well, and not gripping on to anything really, but knowing that we're always supported, and that actually whatever is coming in and whatever is going is actually there to support our next evolutionary momentum. So I hope this is helpful. And I also want to say too that Pluto square the nodes, and so this can be, we can feel that pressure. We can feel we can notice where we're gripping, because Pluto, when it's um, when it's not operating in empowerment, it's actually gripping onto things, controlling things, right? So we can notice if we're gripping onto things and we're controlling things. Why is that? We can do the psychological development and also the psychological investigation to actually look at, why am I gripping onto this when it's actually just trying to leave my life? What am I afraid of? What is the fear? Because if we're believing something out of alignment with our own empowerment, then we're going to experience fear. And then we're going to experience trying to grip and hold things, keep things, and, entrapment, like bondage, right? It's like holding it. And when anything that is meant for us is naturally going to stay, and anything that is not meant for us is going to naturally fall away. So that Pluto square the nodes is still in effect. We can notice if we're gripping onto things, because also remember, if we are gripping onto things that is, we can tell is trying to leave our lives, we're actually not allowing something powerful to come in that's positive. And so, just be aware and notice those things. Notice your instincts, because remember that Mars always acts on behalf of Pluto. And so we can know something's going on in the unconscious mind if we're actually trying to control things. And if we're resisting things, we can notice, oh, if I'm resisting something, maybe I'm not really trusting my own source and soul and my own evolutionary path, as well as my own evolutionary momentum. And by the way, I know it's easier said than done, but I know when I feel empowered, I know these things, right? And so we can just notice, oh, look at where I'm gripping onto this, or I'm not I'm getting the reflections that's showing me that there's something internally that I need to make an adjustment with the way in which I'm perceiving something or believing about something. So all of this can be part of whatever it is that we're initiating at this new moon. And so I don't know if you do this, but I do write new moon intentions. And so you can incorporate these things into your new moon intentions around working with these particular aspects of consciousness. So I hope this is helpful. If it is, I'd love to know. Let me know in the comments. If you think you know someone that would find this valuable, please do share the video and like the video, because it always boosts the algorithm and it's very much appreciated. And so thank you for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video.